She didn't want to hurt anyone. That's the lie people tell themselves when they look at Yuno Gasai. They see the blood. They see the bodies. They see the madness. But none of that explains why. Yuno didn't wake up one day and choose violence. She woke up every day terrified of one thing, being left behind dead, and when love finally appeared in her life, real love, she clung to it like a lifeline. Because when love is the only thing keeping you alive, letting go feels like dying. Yuno Gasai smiled easily. At school, she was admired, polite, intelligent, reliable, the kind of girl teachers trusted and classmates never suspected. But smiles don't tell you what happens in empty houses. They don't tell you what a child learns when affection is inconsistent and love feels conditional. This is not a story about insanity. This is a story about how love, when it becomes the only safe place, turns into a cage. Yuno's home was quiet, not peaceful, empty. Her parents existed in her life like distant figures, present but unreachable. They demanded perfection, obedience, results. Affection was something you earned. Attention was something you competed for. And when she failed, she was reminded how easily love could be taken away. So Yuno adapted. She became what was expected. Perfect grades, perfect behavior, perfect silence. But inside that silence, something grew. A fear so deep it shaped her entire understanding of love. If someone stays, you must never give them a reason to leave. Yukiteru Amano wasn't confident. He avoided people, lived inside his thoughts, observed life instead of participating in it. To most people, he was forgettable. To Yuno, he was everything, because Yukiteru noticed her. Not the perfect student, not the ideal daughter, her. They talked. They shared small moments. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary, until one ordinary sentence changed everything. "Let's meet again in the future," Yukiteru said it casually. Like people do, Yuno didn't hear it casually. She heard a promise, future. Something permanent. From that moment on, Yukiteru wasn't just someone she liked. He became the center of her world. Yuno didn't fantasize about romance. She fantasized about certainty, a future where Yukiteru would never disappear. So when the future diary appeared, when survival itself became a game, Yuno didn't panic. She felt relief, because now love had structure, rules, control. Her diary didn't predict her future. It predicted his, every danger he would face, every threat approaching him, every moment where he could be taken away. And Yuno understood immediately this was her purpose. Protect him, eliminate danger, ensure the future at any cost. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted him to be safe. Is that so wrong? If I watch him closely, if I stay beside him, if I remove the dangers before they reach him, then he'll never have to be afraid. Then he'll never leave. At first, Yukiteru was grateful. Yuno was strong, decisive, always there when he needed her. She fought when he froze. She acted when he hesitated. She became his shield. But shields can block more than danger. Slowly, Yukiteru noticed things that unsettled him. How Yuno always knew where he was. How she appeared before he called. How other people seemed to disappear from his life. Her grip on his hand was tight. Too tight. And when someone else got close, her smile sharpened. Yukiteru told himself it was fine. She cared. She worried. She loved him. But love shouldn't feel like surveillance. It shouldn't feel like there's no room to breathe. Yuno didn't notice the fear at first. She noticed distance, a pause before answers, a step backward instead of closer. And distance to Yuno was unbearable. Because distance meant loss. And loss meant the end. You promise you won't leave. She smiles, because promises are fragile. People break them all the time. But if there's nowhere to go, then staying becomes inevitable. Yuno told herself everything she did was for love, for safety, for the future. She wasn't obsessed, she was prepared. But love that refuses to loosen its grip eventually starts to suffocate. Yukiteru felt it now. The pressure, the fear, the sense that something was wrong. And Yuno felt something too. The terrifying realization that love alone might not be enough to keep him. Love had protected him, for now, but protection can become possession. And once that line is crossed, love doesn't save you anymore, it consumes you.
Yuno Gasai had always known fear, but it had never looked like this before. Before, fear lived quietly inside her. It whispered to her in empty rooms, in moments of silence, in the cold spaces left behind by people who were supposed to care. It was familiar, manageable, something she could bury beneath perfection and smiles. Now fear had a face. It looked like Yukiteru, hesitating before answering her. It sounded like silence, where there used to be trust. It felt like distance, the one thing Yuno could not survive. Because distance meant uncertainty, and uncertainty meant she could lose him. Yukiteru didn't pull away suddenly. He didn't accuse her. He didn't run. He simply began to pause, to hesitate, to look at her as if he was trying to understand something that frightened him. To anyone else, it would have meant nothing. To Yuno, it meant everything. She began staying closer to him. Too close. She framed it as protection, as concern, as love. She told herself that if she just stayed near him, if she just watched carefully enough, nothing bad could happen. But love that watches constantly stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like surveillance. Yukiteru noticed that in small ways at first. The way Yuno always knew where he was. The way she appeared before he could ask for help. The way conversations with others ended abruptly once she arrived. She answered questions for him. She decided what was safe for him. She spoke with certainty, where he still had doubts. And slowly, the world around Yukiteru became smaller. People stopped approaching him. Allies vanished. Options disappeared. And every time he felt uneasy, Yuno reassured him with the same words. "I'm protecting you." She said it calmly, gently, as if protection justified everything. But protection without consent becomes control. Yukiteru began to realize something that terrified him. Yuno wasn't just afraid of losing him, she was afraid of him choosing. Because if Yukiteru chose freely, then Yuno might not be enough. That thought was unbearable to her. In her mind, love and survival were the same thing. Without him, there was no future worth living in. Without him, she would return to that empty house, that cold silence, that version of herself who had learned too early that people leave. So she told herself the same lie again and again. I have to do this. Not because she wanted to, not because she enjoyed it, but because hesitation meant loss. And loss meant death, even if her body kept breathing. The future diary no longer felt like a guide. It felt like confirmation. Every threat it revealed justified her actions. Every warning reinforced her belief that the world was dangerous, and Yukiteru was fragile. And if he was fragile, then she had to be strong enough for both of them. She stopped waiting for danger to appear. She anticipated it. She removed threats before Yukiteru even became aware of them. And that frightened him more than any enemy ever had. Because how do you escape someone who always arrives first? You try to take a step back. She steps closer. You try to explain how you feel. She tells you how you should feel. You say you need space. She hugs you tighter because she mistakes fear for vulnerability. And vulnerability, to her, means you need more protection. When Yukiteru finally confronted her, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse her of being cruel. He told her the truth instead. He said he was scared, that her love felt heavy, that it felt like there was no room to breathe, that he didn't know who he was allowed to be anymore. Yuno listened and she smiled, but the smile never reached her eyes, because what he was asking for, space, distance, freedom, sounded too much like abandonment, and abandonment was the one thing she had sworn would never happen again. Memories surfaced then. Not clearly, but emotionally. The feeling of being watched only when she succeeded, the cold silence when she failed, the understanding that love could disappear overnight. She had learned that love was fragile, and fragile things had to be protected, controlled, secured. From that moment on, Yuno stopped pretending her actions were temporary. She stopped telling herself she would ease up once the danger passed. She accepted the truth she had been avoiding. Love, to her, was not something you shared. It was something you locked in place. Yukiteru felt trapped, not physically, but emotionally. Every choice felt monitored. Every hesitation felt punished. He realized that Yuno no longer loved him as a person. She loved him as a future, a guarantee, a constang, and anything that threatened that future, including his own will, was unacceptable. I gave you everything, Yuno told herself. Her loyalty, her body, her soul, her future. Why wasn't that enough? Why did he still look at her with fear? Instead of gratitude, why did love feel like it was slipping away the harder she held it? The game escalated. The stakes grew higher. The cost of survival increased, and Yuno crossed lines she could never return from. Each act made the next easier. Each sacrifice justified the one before it, because stopping now would mean facing the truth. That love forced is not love, and that truth would destroy her. So she kept going, relentlessly. By the time the world began collapsing around them, Yuno had already accepted what she was becoming. She told herself it didn't matter, as long as Yukiteru stayed alive, as long as he stayed with her. But Yukiteru saw it clearly now. Yuno wasn't protecting him from death. She was protecting herself from being alone. At the end of everything, when the game stripped the world down to its final choices, Yuno stood victorious. She had won. She had secured the future. She had removed every threat, and Yukiteru was still there. Alive. Beside her. But he wasn't looking at her with love. He was looking at her with fear. And fear was not what she had wanted. Fear was what she had tried to prevent. For the first time, Yuno felt something she couldn't control. Regret she had destroyed the world to keep him. But the world she created had no room for love. Only control. Only obedience. Only silence. Yuno Gasai did not fail because she loved too much. She failed because she loved without limits. And love without limits does not remain love. It becomes possession. It becomes fear. It becomes tragedy. She loved him until it became deadly. Not because she was cruel, but because no one ever taught her that love must be chosen, not enforced.